Afternoon, evening. Hi.
How you doing?
How you doing? Hi.
Thank you. Yourself? Very good. Whoa.
How are you?
Right then guys, if we can go with the broadcast first, and once the one-on-ones, if we can keep it short, because you've got one-on-ones afterwards, and then we'll fly through to the written afterwards. So Ben, Sky Sports, do you want to get first?
Yeah, Frank, good to see you in the job. Nice to see you up there. Can you give us an insight into what day one has been like at Coventry City?
Yeah, very enjoyable. A long day. Got to the training ground. I've been able to meet all the very good people working there. I'd heard that. The training ground, I'm talking staff generally. It's a very warm place, the training ground, so that was nice. It was a welcome. And obviously meet the players and speak to them, and have my first training session, which I enjoyed. Worked on the grass for a while now, so it's been nice to get out with the players, form some early relationships, and we also have a tight turnaround to Saturday, which is the absolute priority as it stands.
What was the excitement about this challenge in particular that's brought you back into football management?
Well, a respect for the club and a realisation of the history and traditions of the club. I grew up in and have remember very well successful moments for the club, playing in the top flight. I made my debut actually as a West Ham player against Coventry, which is a nice touch. Didn't realise it all those years ago it would come back round in that way. And the relationships currently of speaking to Doug, my owner, Doug, those conversations and talking about the ambitions of the club and where he wants to take it. So I'm here to help in my role. And from my own point of view, looking at the squad and having an understanding of it and thinking how I want to coach and where I want to go to and how I can have good impact, I've got a positive view on the squad. Now, of course, we're where we are in the table for reasons for me to find out and make better. But I am very much looking forward to working with the players, and so I'm here.
Just finally then, do you have any targets you've been set by the manager left?
No, not as such. He maybe can answer that better than me. I think we're all ambitious, so but we also have to be realistic. So I have to come in and work, and my idea is to work and put one step in front of the other for the players to get better and better quickly. And because I think the quality is there in this squad. It's a young squad. I always enjoy working with young players and working at Derby to working at Chelsea. So I'm ambitious to be better. For me personally, I don't have those far crazy targets far away. I have what's the next game and how can I impact this team in a positive way, which is what I try and do.
Clive?
Frank, you obviously been out of the management for a while. Do you feel refreshed coming to Coventry?
Yeah, I guess I do. I think it's a very consuming business as a manager, head coach. I enjoy that side of it, but of course, for work-life balance, sometimes being out of the game, other than fielding the questions of when you're going to get back in the game, you actually can try and spend some valuable family time and valuable learning time of seeing the game from the outside. Thinking about reflecting on things, looking to the future, trying to be better for when you next come to work. So that's been a nice period. I've got young children as well, so that's been great. But I feel certainly refreshed and ready to go, and very happy to be here, ready to go.
And you see Coventry City is a similar sort of challenge to Derby County?
Well, it's a different phase of my coaching career. I went into that, my first job, and learned a huge amount. And I have to say I had a really, really enjoyable time there. And huge thanks to my owner at the time, the club, the tight-knit people we worked, and we got to a playoff final. Unfortunately, fell at the last hurdle. So for me, it's only really good experiences until that end bit. Is this a different moment and model? Yes, I think it's very hard to compare directly. But what I did like from conversations with Doug and with the people at the club is this feeling of warmth and where we want to get to, and that's kind of what I felt at Derby. And also I work with young players at Derby, and we could improve them and get a good feeling going, and I could at that point affect the style in the way I wanted to, and I hope to do that again here.
And you'll be aware how popular and successful your predecessor was, and the decision to move him on wasn't universally popular. Does that make the job a little harder for you?
Well, firstly, I've got complete respect for the job that Mark did here, absolutely, because viewing it from the outside, you can only give credit and understanding, like I said, the rigours of this job, to be here for such a long time and to have the success and momentum and movement he did and what he was involved in the club is a huge thing. So I'd like to look at it as a point of, can I pick up the good work that he did in his own way? And, when I look at the squad, it's a tactically adaptable squad, used to playing in different formations, well recruited, all these things under his tenure as a manager. So I think that is something that I can only think that's good. You come into to work off the back of someone who's laid some foundations. I'm very aware of it. Listen, I only want to come here and work hard to give my best for this club and for every fan of Coventry that's viewing this appointment. Is to say how hard I'll work to affect the things I think I can affect, which is to hopefully bring success all round to this club. But absolute respect for what Mark did over his time here.
Finally, for me, as you mentioned, you're in a lowly position at the moment. Is it realistic to believe that you can challenge for the playoffs this season, or is it about consolidation now?
Well, I don't want to go anywhere near that because we understand the Championship can move and change very quickly, but nothing's given to you. So every step now has to be the one that's right in front of us. And because you can build momentum quickly in this league, it can also kick you in the area you don't want to be kicked in if you don't stay on it, because there's a Championship. So I think it's very important we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. As I say, I can sit here and go, yes, I've got a good belief in this squad because I've viewed it a lot, I've looked at it, and I think I can help. But going beyond that is not worth me saying at the moment.
Dan, in regards to that?
Frank, by any measurement, you've had an amazing career, a very illustrious career as a player. What draws you to do football management? Because surely you don't need to. And why Coventry City?
I wouldn't say I don't need to. I mean, that's too simplistic. I understand your point. I had a long career. So certain people might think I don't need to. I guess if they're talking financially, I guess, maybe. But when you live something and you have a long playing career and you decide to go into coaching and management, all of a sudden you start again in certain ways. So from being a player where you can be selfish, you concentrate on yourself, what part of the team you have, you're the holder of a lot of responsibilities that you never even probably thought about. So me stepping into Derby for that first time was a big eye-opener of, wow, this is about people as much as it is about football and things like that. So when you're interested in those things and you want to get better every day, I can't turn that off. So I've had a nice time out of the game, but I want to get back in because this is what I love doing. I love coaching players. I love working with players on a training ground. I love the idea of giving fans an exciting team to watch and getting results for those fans. And as I look back on my career with Derby, as I said, I get to a player final at Chelsea. We managed to make it into the Champions League at Everton. I stayed up. So I've had good moments and good work. And then moments, obviously, where it leaves me out of a job maybe and coming here. So these are all experiences for me. And as a manager, you have to understand that it will be an accumulation of experiences. And I really look forward to this one. I'm keen to get going.
I can totally understand the personal development. Finally, what about the fact that people might call out your name, that you got that goal to cheer, just like as a player, an 89th-minute winner? That must be a bit of a drug that you can't say.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been a sports person as long as I can remember. Since I was a kid, I'd play every sport, let alone become a professional footballer, which was my dream. So I think adulation was probably more important to me in my 20s than it is in my 40s. Scoring the goal and putting your arm up and hearing the fans, it never goes short on you. It's always an amazing feeling. But as you get older, you just kind of feel, this is my job. So I want to make people happy, sure, but I'd much rather than sing the name of a player than sing my name, because those 20-year-olds will love it like I did. So really, I just get my head down and do the job, and hopefully I can do a successful one. Thank you.
Dan, how do you go?
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
How do you see Coventry City playing under you?
Well, I don't want to go too far ahead. We've got a game on Saturday, mate. Hopefully the proof will be in the pudding and you'll see that. So I think it's important that I affect it in the way I want to do. I want to play exciting football. What coach will sit here and say the opposite of that? But I think for me to go into the detail at this point is not. But I've got belief in the squad. I want us to be exciting to watch in an attacking sense. I also want us to be very difficult to play against without the ball. And that's also a priority for me walking into this job, to make sure we get that right, to feel like we can put pressure on the team to win the ball back as high as we can. But I don't want to make any promises at this point, as in I just want to work. And my answer can only be in the work that I do and what the players deliver.
What if it don't get okay? Why?
Well, Frank, obviously we went through the process, and he was the outstanding candidate that we felt was right for the moment and right for this period for our development as a football club. Simple as that, really. It was thoroughly done. We, as I said, we had a lot of great applications, and we had a shortlist that was high caliber. But Frank stood out. We got on great, and I think he's putting himself back in the arena, which is a brave thing to do always. And I think he's ready to come back in the arena from our conversations, and we're really happy to have him with us.
Go to Andy Turner, written, Coventry Telegraph.
Sorry.
Time it away.
Frank, I presume you've done quite a lot of homework over the last week or so. I'm assuming that you've watched the Sheffield United and Burnley games on Sky, if not at the stadium yourself. But what are your first impressions of the squad?
Well, I think I touched on it, but I think it's a talented squad. The age profile of the squad is good in terms of, I think we hope uplift with good work in individuals and the team collectively. I think the balance of the squad is good in terms of when you look at positionally, the backup that we have. It's an important thing to have a balanced squad. I've worked with balanced squad, I've worked with less balanced squad. It makes a big difference for everybody to be invested in what you're doing and to keep pushing in the right direction. As I say, there's a reason why we are where we are at this point. Those are reasons for me to find out, which I don't want to go into individually. That's for me to work away. But if you talk about those two performances, I think Sheffield United deserve to win the game, regardless of circumstance. In terms of a red card, I think they started the game very well, and from then on tried everything to win the game. And Burnley was a very tough match away from home, where it can happen where you go away and lose a game like Burnley, and there's things that I can pick up from both of those games in their own way that help me probably coming in to see what I can affect, hopefully quickly.
Have you spoken to talk about the January transfer window? Doug mentioned it before a couple of weeks ago that there might be an opportunity to do a bit of business, particularly in the loan market.
Did I?
Sorry?
Did I?
Yeah.
Right then.
And I know it's a difficult window in which to operate, but is that something that you'll be looking to get a bit of sprinkling of magic, if you like, here and there? Maybe go on your contacts for Chelsea or something like that?
Yeah, well, who are we going to bring in from Chelsea? JOAO FELIX or something? I don't know.
Some youngsters.
Yeah, I know. It's not that simple, but I see your point, and there are. I've had a good experience of youngsters from Chelsea, but some periods are different than others. If a player comes, they have to affect us in a really positive way. So, of course, that's what would be work to be done. But we have had some conversations, but absolutely it's not my priority. I think we've got enough games in the meantime, and this squad is strong enough in the meantime to really get to work with what we've got. And, of course, when January comes, if we have a joined-up conversation, we'll make those decisions. But it's certainly not been anywhere near top of the list in our conversation so far. I won't speak honestly about that.
Yeah. And Doug, I just ask you, you were talking before as well about appointing a sporting director. Can I ask you how far down the road you are with that process?
I've just appointed a head coach. It's been busy on that front, obviously, for the last 3 weeks. Obviously, we're moving the structure of the football club a lot from the last 2 years from where it was. So the ultimate goal, as I mentioned, is to get that structure set up, but it's not like, it's going to happen tomorrow. We're just going to take our time, bed in the new coaching team that have come in today only. We've got, 7-8 games for the end of the year, and that's our focus, is just to ease it in and just try and get off to a good start with the new setup.
And you mentioned again at the forum you wanted stability going forward, but on from the stability over those last 7.5 years under Mark Robins. Frank's been given a 2.5-year contract, which is relatively short, I guess. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, I think most managers don't last that long, do they? 2.5 years is a good stint, right? Obviously, contracts can be extended at any point, can't they? You start it off; it's a logical sort of period to come in half a season in, and then have a full pre-season to get your teeth into it. I wouldn't read anything into that at all. We negotiated a deal, and that's what we did.
And in terms of Frank's remit, you wanted Mark to get 3 playoffs out of 5. What was Frank's remit?
I mean, we came out when I bought the club 2 years ago. Pretty much this time 2 years ago, that was our aim, was to try and hit the playoffs 3 out of 5 years. We obviously hit the one in the first year, narrowly missed it last year. But look, it isn't a day for what can be achieved. It's a day for we haven't had a new head coach here for 8 years nearly, right? I mean, it's a big day. There was a lot of excitement today at the training ground, just because when you have change after that long, it is really quite novel, actually. So I felt the energy, and I think that was really what I was looking to see. It was a cold day, but you felt the energy. And there's a lot to do, but we've got a long contract, and I trust in Frank and his coaching team. Whatever happens, we get on with it, and we do it properly, and we do the best we can.
Yep, John.
Frank, just looking at your managerial record, I mean, first season at Derby in the playoffs, I think fourth in the Premier League, FA Cup final with Chelsea, Everton survival despite all the issues that have obviously come to light since you left. But externally, since you've got this job, there's a few people saying it's a bit of a risk. I mean, looking at that record, it's a one to be proud of, isn't it?
Well, I'll let you say that rather than me.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm not an owner hiring a head coach, a manager, but I would say everything probably is a risk in this job. We all make those decisions and views, and also in this modern world, everyone can have an opinion, and I wouldn't expect any opinion, any decision of a manager to be universal, really. I would say the things that you said about my managerial career, the positive things. We have to live in a world of the spotlight when you're a head coach. But if you don't want that, then don't sign up for it. And if you're not brave enough to take that, then don't worry. Sit at home and be an ex-player that decides to do something else. It's much easier to work in the media. It's much easier to sit at home or play golf. I like to work. So my only answer to any people like that, which is what it would always be, is, well, just give me a chance to work. Because at the clubs I've worked at, I think I've done some good work, and I know I have good staff with me, and I feel like I'm walking into good people around me, and those things are very important. If I've learned anything in my managerial lifetime, it's that when you work with good people in the same direction, then you have a chance to have success. So let's try and do that. But people are very, very entitled to their opinion, absolutely.
And how important is it for you as a British coach to still put yourself, as Doug says, out there to do it again?
Well, whether British or not, I mean, I know it's a talking point in terms of British managers. I think British managers should be given a chance, and sometimes they're given even more stringent opinion against them. I think certainly, I think sometimes ex-players, if I'm honest. But again, I don't want to hang on that, because it's not really important. What's important to me now is to work, whether I'm British or from anywhere in the world, to work with my idea. And it should hopefully be very visible what I'm trying to do, what sort of style I want to bring to the team, and that we can win points, which is our first step, as I keep saying here, to win games, because winning helps everything else. Winning helps the training, the development, the feeling, everybody together. So we have to try and find that as quickly as we can.
Just finally, for me, your memories of Derby, it's a mad league, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is, and that's the. What's on my CV, it's on my experience. It's a good thing for me that I've been through that already before, and I understand that we work very hard to get to a playoff final. One of my high points is winning the semi-final in the playoffs, just because of how tough I knew that game would be, squad per squad and against the manager. But when I look back at that year, I remember some very difficult times, and it's very important that you stay level-headed in difficult times. To keep moving in the forward direction, because this is, as you say, it's a very rigorous sort of league in its demands. So I'm ready for that. I have to be the one that sets the tone of staying in the right direction.
Yeah. A bit of time passed, Frank, since you left Chelsea the second time. How would you say you changed in terms of your approach to the job, not tactically and everything like that, maybe within yourself and how you would approach players and approach certain situations?
Well, listen, when I left Chelsea, I went into a job that was. It was a bit of babysitting from me, if I'm honest, in terms of going over to Tide Over for 7 weeks, and I learnt a lot. Not on coaching terms; it wasn't a coaching job; it was a holding the baby job whilst the transition was happening. And I learnt that if you don't get the environment right, then it's very difficult to succeed. and Chelsea in that moment was in transition. Now, as I think you can see the environment's changing there, and you can see the results of that, on the pitch mainly. So I know those things. So from all my experiences, I've sort of, you learn bit by bit. And even if you say, not tactically, when I'm out of the game, it gives you even more time to look at the game from outside the box, from outside the staff office at Everton or staff office at Chelsea. It's actually what's happening with the game. I watch so many games a week at home. So that's quite nice. You can really study time to things you want to improve a little bit, things you're seeing. So hopefully I've improved in different areas.
Have you missed, it sounds a strange question because everyone wants to get to the Premier League, but have you missed the Championship at all? Like there seems a sort of purity to it maybe, like when you were working with those young players at Derby, maybe it wasn't the right environment at Chelsea last time for different reasons. Have you missed that simplicity of it?
I love the Championship. I love my time at Derby. I love my time, as I say, with the people I work with behind the scenes. I love being able to try and work with the young players, and I also had experienced players that were great for me at Derby. And as you say, the up and down nature of the league, it was testing and challenging, but I've been used to that as a player because I'm lucky enough to play at a level where it was Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League. So I went on to work with Chelsea and it was the same. So there's similar demands, it's maybe slightly different spotlights, but I love my time at Derby and I want to enjoy my time here. I feel like I know what I'm walking into in a sense of that, having experience of it. But this will be a different challenge. There'll be things I don't even know today that will be a challenge tomorrow. And that's the thing as a manager, that you always be ready to take on the next one.
Now,
Frank, Frank, do you think that by the end of this, we'll have a better understanding, football watching public will have a better understanding of where you are as a manager, whether you can kick on again? Because for all the great things that John said about your career, and that's all true, there seems to be a question marks about yourself, and you seem to have got all the ingredients here to make a success of it. I mean, do you think we'll have a much better idea of your standing as a football manager whenever your time is at Coventry City?
I can't predict it. I can't predict the future. I understand the question. I think every situation is about context. Like from managing Derby and having a lion's share of possession and being able to create a high pressing team that would play quickly through the lines was because I had players that could do it, and the players I brought in actually at that point affected it to allow me to have the style that we affected. And then I go to Chelsea. In the context of Chelsea was academy players that needed to be played because of a transfer ban. It brought energy into a team that already had some good players, of course, but was in a different situation to what Chelsea had been in recent years. But it allowed me to play a higher pressing, higher attacking. In that first season I had there, I can be very proud if I know that when I look back as well. And then the challenge of Everton was the context of a relegation battle. So I'm not really bothered about people's opinions about how they want to judge it, because as a manager, you only know what's in front of you when you're working behind the scenes. So I know the context of that, and I don't want to sit here and try and go, I want to do this to show the world. I'm driven. I like to prove people wrong. I did it in my football career. If they want to feel something's wrong, I did it in my playing career a lot. It was a drive for me. And as I say, as a managerial career, you're going to have to prove people wrong. It doesn't matter whether it's me or Pep Guardiola at this moment in time, or so-and-so, somebody who's in a relegation battle, or somebody who's just lost their job. There'll be opinions about it. It's no problem. But I've only got to think about what's my job.
Why have you bothered? Because you don't need this. I mean,
how do you know? What do you know?
Do you know?
I don't know.
Do you know? I mean, I don't know.
No, I understand it, but it's like a loose question. I actually get asked that a lot. When are you going to get back in the game? Like, why do you need to? I go, well, I'm 46. I must put my slippers on.
Without, do you know what I mean? It's vulgar talking about, but you can have your, incredibly successful. You've got your pick of the things you could do. You could go and buy an off-the-shelf business and run that, or you could go into football. You could go into consultancy. You could go into agency. There's lots of.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's a certain time.
But you don't have to put yourself through this. It's a more dry existence, isn't it?
Yeah, but I've had these questions before when I've been working, and they come. No, but it's true. But they come from you, and maybe I want to flip it and ask you why are you doing your job? Like, it's not all. It's.
I've been doing it for 33 years. So.
Well, there you go. Okay. Yeah. It's wearing you down. I don't. It's a double whammy. I don't listen. I get it, as I say, because a lot of people talk about the stresses put on management. Again, you have to be big enough to take it, but there is also enjoyment in it. there's also enjoyment of getting up, you know, and putting yourself out there and taking on a challenge of working with players, you know, trying to win a game, trying to pick a squad, learning about people, working with your owners, working with people around you. And there'll be some really good people that I'll be walking into, which I feel today in the building, that I can get some of their expertise in analysis or sports science and these things coming together. That's a great challenge for me. So, you know, it's very sort of simple to say, why don't you just sit at home? I don't want to. I want to work. Good question.
So then, given your track record, that's disappointed you in a Premier League in that club didn't come for you in that period of time since you left Chelsea?
No, I'm not disappointed because, you know, this is a business where jobs that become available are very well pushed for by a lot of good coaches out there that want to work, and you can never gauge what that might be, who may get given a job, if you may not, or whatever. And I've had different opportunities in this last period of time that I've turned down that I didn't want to do as well. So this has come along. I'm more happy with what this opportunity is for me. And I think, you know, I can't come out of some of the challenging jobs I had. I suppose going back to Chelsea, being there the first time was an amazing challenge that I loved. And going to Everton was, again, a really enjoyable time. But it was a real footballing challenge because of all the things that were going on. So for me to take a view and to go into a project, you want to call it here, where I can get working, I've got no ego that needs to take me to the Premier League. I'm very happy to work with people to try and make this club better. I want Coventry fans to be happy with the club that I produce, and that would be whether I'm in the Premier League, the Championship. I've been offered opportunities abroad, which I haven't wanted to do. This was the right opportunity for me.
So does it help you not being under the radar in some sense? Yeah.
I'm used to being under the radar or over the radar. You know, I played, you know, at a level where there's severe spotlight, World Cups, etc. So I'm fine with that either way. Listen, I wouldn't say under the radar, because you want to come into Coventry and say being their manager's under the radar, people are going to say, no, you're not. Yeah, but I get that. But funny enough, when you live it, it becomes the same. You know, and my first critic is myself. If we lose a game or training doesn't feel right, so I'm not concerned about that in terms of size. I'm not crying out for anything different than what I've got right in front of me.
You've got young kids. Are you moving up here? Or they?
Yeah, I mean, in the short term, I'm gonna, especially with the schedule that we've got up until Christmas, I'll be, you know, staying over a lot of time here, because we have to front load this and try and understand how we can make it better straight away. And then once we get past Christmas and Santa's been and all that stuff, I can work out exactly how I can add more roots here. I'm saying Santa because I've got young kids. They're very excited.
Yeah. Frank, can I ask you what you've done in the 18 months? Some of the things that you've done to try and improve yourself and learn. Have you gone to other clubs? Have you gone to other countries? Have you gone to other sports even?
Yeah, I haven't gone to so many other countries. I'm probably fortunate in my long career, obviously being off the back of a player, and probably my roots of different points that I can, you know, tap into a lot of expertise and other people that are doing experiences. So I stay very close to other managers that are working in the game. You know, I've had dinners with, you know, Thomas Franks and Roy Hodgson's, who are a lot of respect for managers. Gareth Southgate before the Euros. I've been lucky. I went up to actually work in a bit of a media capacity at Manchester City, and Pep invited me in. We had an hour chat. Went to see Thomas Frank of Brentford and the work that he's doing, and it's always enlightening, no matter what, whether someone sees the game different from you. So I've done a lot of that. But if I'm honest, the main thing I've done is watch a lot of games and probably go back over things that I've done in my training and plan for what may come next. It's not an easy planning situation, but I've watched a lot of games and try to watch where, you know, a team's doing well and something a bit different. I tap into it, so I'll watch back games from the weekend, predominantly Premier League games and Championship games.
Thank you. What team you've enjoyed watching the most?
But I think that always changes. I mean, this is my job, and I'll watch games on a wide angle. It kind of takes excitement out of it with the noise off. But for me, tactically, it's good to watch. And you know, I don't want to. But I actually played with Andoni in New York. But what Bournemouth are doing this year, watched a few of their games in terms of their off the ball work and how aggressive they are off the ball. I watched that. I watched a lot of Ipswich last year. Obvious reasons of being interested, what's happening, and, you know, credit to the manager and coach and the players and what he's done. So I will kind of go into areas where something interests me. Aston Villa last year. So they're great things, and it's important as a manager you have your own idea, but you can definitely look at what other people are doing, and it's just great to see.
And just with that time to sit back and reflect on things that you've done right in the past and things you've done wrong, is there something you would change from the past that you maybe tweak it and think I didn't get that quite right?
Not particularly, because hindsight's a really wonderful thing, and you look back, so you definitely learn from things. You go, maybe I got that wrong, but this is going to be a completely new challenge. So I think all these things are. You just build up the layers with things you think you did right. I know things I did right when I was really naive at Derby in the early stages that I would still do now. I know things that maybe when you think you're getting it right, you maybe feel like you got it wrong after. It sounds a bit wordy, but I've got a good. My what might be a relatively short managerial span of experience has taken me a lot of places, in the top of the Championship to the Champions League to a relegation battle. So I feel like I'm quite loaded with experience.
Nick?
Frank, you've mentioned the context of some of your previous jobs. Certainly the two spells at Chelsea and Everton are incredibly difficult sort of circumstances to go into. Have the circumstances that were in those jobs at the start, have they, almost like prevented you from being the sort of coach that you want to be, or how has that affected the work you did at those clubs?
I just think you have to adapt to that context, and I went into Everton with an idea of where I wanted to go with it. Our first game we beat Brentford 4-1 at Goodison Park, and happy days. And then as we go back into league games and you get back to the rigours of the Premier League, I felt and realised that the way we were trying to go would probably have been a big problem for us. So rather than just stick to my identity and way and just keep batting away, I had to change certain things within the setup. So as much as that might not look so great on my you're an attacking manager CV, I knew I had to do something, and that's when I talk about context. So those things are only good when I look back. People go, oh, well, you're taking on these big challenges, and people want to criticise you if it goes wrong. Well, you know what? I'll take the challenge, no problem. But with this challenge, I feel very positive with the squad and with the relationships I've already spoken about and the conversations, because I look at the squad and I see the profile of it in terms of the technical ability of it, the energy of it. Of course, it's developing in a sense because of the age bracket of it, but that's really appealing to me, to try and make players better. So I think context is important. We're not all managing a group where you can go, this is exactly what I want to be, and everything looks perfect. That's not football. Sometimes you have to change your ways. But I want to bring attacking football to this club.
Do you think this is the best circumstance / kind of opportunity you've got to be that sort of coach, the coach that you want to be, the sort of attacking coach you want to be?
It's the one that's in front of me, That's it.
Just finally, you talked about how you may have changed since the Chelsea job. How have you changed, do you think, as a coach since the start of your coaching career at Derby?
I'm more knowledgeable. I'd like to think I'm better through the experience of good and bad. Everything's an experience that can improve you, whether it goes well or not. So, I've a million times more confidence. I probably portrayed confidence in the beginning, but I'm much more confident now, because this job you have to lead by example. So I certainly have no fears of the job, and have a real understanding of how I want to coach, how I want to train, the details I want to talk about, the things that are important to me. I've got much more clarity on that than when I first went in.
Sonny?
Yeah, Frank, following those spells in the Prem, was the idea always to come back into the Championship?
No, it's hard to have an idea when you're out of the game. You wait, you as I say, spend time with your family, you keep an eye on football, you do your things to keep you ticking, and you gauge opportunities as and when they come.
And how much do you think, obviously, football has changed, obviously, the year since you've had off? Tactics always go on, don't they? So how much do you think that's changed, and how hard will that be to adapt your game to it as well?
Well, I'd say it won't be hard to adapt. It always evolves. I think the Championship certainly has evolved since I was in the Championship with Derby, because that's a fair period of time. In terms of football, there are different trends. There are different teams trying to do different things. There are teams that are wanting to press ultra high. That's obviously nothing quite new, really. There are teams that are trying to build more, maybe more rotations. All things that were there when I was managing 18 months ago, and for the last 2-3 years before that. And all things that I stay across when I'm out of the game. So it's all interesting things. It's the beauty of, if you ask why you're coaching, I like to get on the ground and I like to tactically get my team as good as I can possibly get them. So I have to stay abreast of all that stuff.
Dan?
Let's quickly ask you about the games coming up. Cardiff Saturday, and then lots of games against teams just below you in the table. Very important period.
Yeah, and this is a championship, so every game you have to hold with complete respect for the opponent. I know that from working there before. Every game will be a challenge in a different way. Starting with Cardiff, who may be slightly wounded from their result last night, but we know they're fighting. We know they have a manager that's very keen to put his imprint into the team, and they have some interesting things that they do in terms of how they play, because I've been able to watch a bit of them now. So we'll focus on Cardiff and we'll focus on the games that come after that. But my main focus in the short term is on us, is on what I can affect for us, to try and give the lads confidence in the way we want to go and consistency in our work.
Any more before we finish up? No? That's great.
Thanks,
Cheers, guys.
Thanks
Thank
very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All the best, mate.
Nice to see you again.
See you again, mate.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers, Al. Thank you very much. Cheers. Nice speaking to you.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry. Thanks a lot. Man, thanks. Why are you doing it? A lot of people don't ask me that.